watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You know, I'm a huge supporter of many, many things in the community. I'm a supporter of the entire community. But things that really get my heart a-pumping when we're talking about talent, art, that sort of thing, as well as supporting amazing programs in the community. Joining me today, we have Joyce, Margot, and Nancy. Sorry, Nancy, I did that momentary pause just to make sure you were paying attention. They are all here from the Westminster Church in different roles, and I'm going to start off by asking Joyce, what is it that you do? And thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate you bringing us here. We are planning a variety show for this Saturday, and we've labeled it Broadway's, and this is a little play on words, the Broadway's Brightest and Best.
Wonderful.
And I'm the co-coordinator of that, and I also am the chair of Worship and Sacrament for worship. Or for Westminster.
Margot, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm facilities manager at Westminster Church. So we have a huge building, and a lot of it is available for renting. So people rent it, some small businesses rent it, and sometimes for parties, things like that. All sorts of things happen, self-help groups. It's a busy, busy facility. Every night of the week there's something going on. 2 choral groups, a lot of stuff happens there. My other role at Westminster is food security outreach.
Okay.
So that's feeding hungry people. I mean, this is my role there primarily, is keeping programs that are relevant and meeting the needs of the community in any way Westminster can.
Amazing. Nancy, how about you?
I'm the Minister of Music at Westminster, and I play piano and organ and lead the celebration choir. So involved in most anything that involves music at the church.
And there are so many things that happen at the church. I always see things happening at the church that involve music. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And that was, you know, when we were starting the show and we were talking about how I love to support local artists, local businesses, local communities, organizations, that sort of thing. It definitely gets my toes a-tapping, and I love music for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the brightest and best. Yes.
Okay, Broadway's
Brightest and Best. So tell me a little bit about what we should expect at the event.
Well, we've got a complete range of performers, and even right down to a musician, or not a musician, a magician.
Amazing.
So start with them. And so yeah, it's going to be a fun night. $25 per person, and the proceeds are going to go completely to our kitchen program, and Margot's going to tell you about that. So that's where the proceeds are going.
So these artists that are coming out, and I love it because when I say artists, it's not always music. Who doesn't like magic? Come on. So let's talk a little bit about they're local. Are they not? Are
Absolutely.
They of all different ages?
Yes, and that's why we've sort of called it Broadway's, but it is really Dufferin County that we've reached out to different performers.
Well, and we have to take advantage of the fact that we have Broadway right here in Orangeville, right? Like, I mean, New York has Broadway, but they don't stand up to our Broadway, that's for sure, and our talent.
Well, and of course, Westminster is on Broadway,
yes.
So that's our little play on words.
And there's plenty of talent within the church. And they're not shy. They love to get up on stage. But for this concert, we've included some of our congregants, but taken our friends from the community. So I have the opportunity to work all the time with different local artists. They come help me with different concerts. They often come and play with me on Sunday morning. And our mandate is to really support local and youth as well.
Absolutely, and we have so many talented people and so many different types of artists in Dufferin County. I mean, there's people who are into pottery and painting and musicians, and there's just crochet. Like, there's just so many facets of art in Dufferin County. I think that we're a very lucky community to have that many artists.
Absolutely. Yes.
For sure,
we have
for
a
sure.
wealth of it, for sure.
We do. Actually, my son is one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, my son, he's been on the show. He's a musician and he also sings. So he actually teaches guitar lessons and plays in several different types of bands.
Oh, how did we
Wow.
miss him?
Yes.
There's still time.
There's still time.
You have at least 1 week.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Margot, maybe you could just give us a quick overview of the kitchen
Absolutely,
project?
absolutely. There's so many things that happen. The kitchen programs at Westminster fall under the umbrella of the kitchen table at Westminster. I've got a piece of paper here because we do a lot. There's so many things. Every Wednesday we operate a food cupboard, an emergency food cupboard.
Okay.
So that's open for anyone in need, no questions asked. Come in and we're able to help out with, getting people something going in their cupboard. So it's non-perishables, and it's a busy spot. And I can tell you that in the last year, we've probably seen use almost double.
Yes, I mean, the need for food, it breaks my heart to think of anyone being hungry, and I've said that so many times on the show. But it's just growing exponentially, and the costs of everything are just going up, and people that you think wouldn't need to come to somebody to get food to help themselves are now having to do that.
Teena, I can tell you, I've had people, in their 50s, midlife, and they're coming in and they're telling me, Margot, we always donate it. I can't believe I'm here. And that is so frequent, and it's important that everyone recognize that they're not unique in their struggle.
Right.
Well, one thing I think that's really fascinating that this project they're going to start to do, and they've prepared the grounds, our lawns are going to be turned into gardens.
Amazing.
Yeah. We're turning everything. We have all this grass, and we know people are hungry, and we think to ourselves, why are we growing grass? Environmentally, grass is horrible. I mean, mowing grass is just polluting the air. And we need food. And why grow grass when you can grow food and then eat it? It's going to be a grazing garden. We're encouraging people, when you see food growing there, pick some. That's the
Amazing.
point.
Yeah.
That's the point of
that's
it.
That's amazing. And I think that, within the community itself, I find it some of the unique ideas that we do here in Dufferin County, you don't see everywhere else. And then hopefully by you coming on the show and sharing this creates awareness for other people. Like, we need more help. We need more help to feed families and individuals and seniors and people of all walks of life.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the important things too is when we were talking about different types of people that didn't think that they would need your services.
Yep.
And it's a matter of, people will look at someone and say, well, you know what, that person drives a BMW. They're not going to need that. But you know what, there's a very big chance that person who's driving that BMW has stuck with their lease or whatever it happens to be because they can't afford to get out of it. So yes, they're driving a BMW, but it doesn't mean they don't need assistance.
That's right.
Well, and maybe it will actually catch on where people who are fed up with putting whatever on their lawns will turn them into gardens.
Yeah,
I think
would
it's
be
a
a nice-
fabulous
hoping-
idea.
We've approached it as a teaching garden as well, and so it's lots of opportunities. Come by Westminster when you see people in the garden. Learn a little bit about gardening. We're really approaching it in every way possible to reach more people. Westminster also has a milk and formula program. And you get referred to it from a social agency. So
Okay.
if someone's watching and struggling, go to your family doctor, even go to the Foodbank. Just need someone to sign to get you started on the program. That's all there is to it.
Right.
I do workshops in the kitchen twice a month, and those meals that we prepare there go to the men's and youth shelter here in town.
Amazing.
And always happy to get them there, and at the same time people are coming into the workshops learning food literacy. And so the workshop is benefiting on all levels. They pay what you can.
Right.
So I've heard people tell me that some kitchen workshops are costing them up like a couple $100.
Wow.
And these are pay what you can. You come in and we do all sorts of things. Right now we're on a bit of a soup series. So right after Easter, I'm hoping to get those ham bones going.
Well, but we need to get back to our fundraiser
Yes, and
on the 13th.
Absolutely.
People, I mean, even though it's just a few days away, they can still get tickets at the office. And as I said, it's $25 with the proceeds going to this kitchen.
Yes.
One of the things I always like to share when people are doing something for such a worthy cause, because I'm sure there are people that are watching that may not be able to afford $25, but other ways that you can support is sharing and spreading the word about this event happening on April 13th. The Broadway's Brightest and Best, and it's happening at the Westminster Church. So if you're just looking at this saying, you know what, I don't have $25, I can't go out, but you can tell everybody that you know about it, and maybe they can come out and help, or they could tell another 10 people to do that. So please do that. Nancy, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about music, because to me music is such a source of joy and happiness. What's it like working with all different ages and putting a show like this together?
Oh, it's great fun, and I love the creative aspect. And people always ask me, well, what do you want to hear? And I say, well, what suits you best? What do you like? And what's going to bring out your personality? I get to work with singers and instrumentalists. We have Sean Darrow, who's a clarinetist and just an all-around great entertainer. Kim Stevenson is a good friend of the church. She plays flute. Elizabeth Dubois. So some of these names may be familiar to folks in the community. Elizabeth Dubois is a beautiful singer. We have another singer, Cara Cameron. So instrumentalists, singers. They're wonderful people, and we have a great time getting together, and doing our thing. So we have some youth. One particular person is Hayden Thomas, and he kind of grew up playing at our church.
I was going to say, is he a pianist?
Yes, he is.
I know Hayden Thomas. Yes, he's done some work with Theatre Orangeville as well.
Yes, he's fabulous.
Yes. He is fabulous, and just finishing first year of university, I believe. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Time is going by really quickly.
I know.
And we have some goofy stuff too.
Some goofy stuff. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're hoping
we have some shopping queens coming.
Ah, yes.
Shopping queens, do tell. Why was I not invited?
Well, in our congregation, we have almost a resident poet, composer. She writes hymns and lyrics to music, and she loves to rewrite songs. And she's written a song called "The Shopping Queens of Orangeville,"
okay.
And they're mystery guests. You will have to come and see who they are.
I always love a mystery. It makes it more intriguing to go buy your tickets and come out, for sure.
And also, she worked on the Be Our Guest.
Yes. The Be Our Guest will be a large-scale musical number with our choir participating.
Wonderful. And how many members of the choir are there?
There's 27 right now.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, for a small town, it really is.
Well, I will not hurt everybody's ears and join the choir.
Well, all are welcome, and it always turns out for the best. That way, I don't audition anybody, but they're a great group, and we have so much fun.
And you know what? I just find these things. I love the fact about what you're doing and what you're raising money for. Obviously, I do. But I just love the fact that when you leave this event, you're going to feel so uplifted and happy, because not only have you helped the community, but you've listened to all these wonderful artists. You've had a little bit of fun, laughing. It's a great event. So if you can go out to support it, please do so. We just have a few, not very long, less than a minute left, 30 seconds left. So I want to thank you, ladies, very, very much for joining me today and sharing this amazing event with the community and helping to create awareness for the needs.
And thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Especially.
It was truly my pleasure, and thank you. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Is there a lot of pressure on this young fighter here tonight?
Fighting is life.
This is my belt. I earned this in blood, paid in full. This is mine.
Everyone gets knocked down, but fighters get back up.
You cannot break me, I promise you.
Adversity is the road to victory. Sacrifice is the price for glory. The very struggle for survival is the fight for greatness.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us if you're just tuning in. As always, it's always a good time to tune in. One of my favorite ladies is here talking about one of the organizations that I love to support as much as I possibly can. Joining me today, we have Heather Hayes, Executive Director of the Orangeville Foodbank. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Oh, always a pleasure. I love coming to the show.
I love having you on the show. It's a lot of fun. I wasn't joking or making it up. She is one of my favorite people. But Heather, I wanted to talk about the coldest night of the year, CNOY, and tell us a little bit about where that's sitting right now.
Well, we have raised over $160,000 for the food bank, which is just astronomical. Yeah, our goal was 180. We got so close, and we were just thrilled this year with the amount of participants that came. 526 walkers came out that day to support us. Our biggest event ever, and the community is just always so generous and supportive.
Well, and just in case you don't know what CNOY is, like, let's talk a little bit about what it is. I mean, it has happened in February, but we want to make sure that people are already putting it on their calendars for next year.
Absolutely. So CNOY is an acronym for Coldest Night of the Year. It is a national event that happens across Canada, and it is in support of the hungry, hurting, and homeless in our community. It is the biggest and only fundraiser that the food bank does in support of our food programs and in support of the operations of the food bank. And so what it is a 2 to 5K walk in the community. Everybody gets together at the food bank. We launch everybody. We have a great day. This year we had ice carvers and we had magic shows and we had warming bins with fires. We make a lovely meal for after the walk. Our chef, Mark, does some great stuff. And yeah, we just have a great time raising funds for the food bank.
Well, congratulations on that amount. I think that's an absolutely phenomenal amount.
It is.
And I want to talk a little bit about something that you kind of touched on, saying it's the only fundraiser. Because I think a lot of people who may not know as much about the food bank as others don't realize, I mean, you don't get a lot of government funding. You have to do everything almost.
Yes. So we actually, food banks across Ontario, across Canada, do not receive provincial or federal funding. We in this municipality are incredibly lucky that the county supports us and the town supports us. But other than that, everything that we have, everything that we do at the food bank has to be raised by us. And so that is local donors. And there is sort of a misunderstanding that large corporations and that sort of thing support the food bank, which they do. But that only makes up 7% of the overall donations that we get at the food bank. The other 93 is all of us. Right. And that's what keeps the food banks going, and we just live in a beautiful community that continues to do that.
That's absolutely amazing, and I think that I think it's always important to touch on that, because I think people can have those misconceptions that, oh, well, you know what, it's great to go at Christmas and, you know, throw a bag of food in, and, you know, but the government, that they're taken care of and that sort of thing, and that's bringing me to my next point about things that you have coming up very, very shortly. There's always a push around holidays to donate to the food bank, which is important because, I mean, we're going to talk about the need. But there's all of those off months where maybe it's not top of mind for people. So what is it that you've got going on about that?
So we're really fortunate that in the next week or two we are hosting food drives at all the major grocery stores. So Saturday, April 20th, we're having food drives across Orangeville, which is fantastic. And we're really hoping that, again, community members will consider supporting the food bank with a purchase of items. We will have lots of different groups there collecting on our behalf. And the idea that what we need at the food bank is what's in your grocery cart.
Right.
Our biggest needs right now are things like snack items for kids, or soft food items, things like pudding cups or fruit cups, canned pasta, that kind of thing. If you didn't have access to dental care, you don't have good teeth. And if you don't have good teeth, it's very difficult to take in enough nutrition that is soft that you can take in. And the other thing are things like, we don't think about cooking oils or any kind of fat that you start a meal with. We have lots of dry ingredients, but if you don't have the fat and the spices to make it taste good, dried pasta is not, or chickpeas is not going to do you a lot of good.
No.
So those kinds of things would be very appreciated. Canned sauces, those kinds of items. Condiments, we don't get condiments, right?
Okay.
And you know, a hamburger or ketchup or French fries, those kinds of things without ketchup, I don't know. It doesn't fly well in my house. So.
No, and I think that you don't really think about that when you're thinking about things, and it's really important. I mean, if I didn't have spices to cook with, or oil or butter to start the cooking with, to give it some sort, it definitely doesn't make for a great meal at all.
Right, and we're always also on the hunt for things like toilet paper and hygiene items, cleaning supplies, those kinds of things. If you have pet food you don't need anymore, you can donate it to the food bank. All of those kinds of things support families as they're accessing the food bank. And right now, about 15% of the people accessing the food bank are working.
Right. Wow. Well, that leads us to the topic that is of the biggest concern, is talking about how much the need has grown and what you're predicting is going to grow to.
Yeah, so it's been a big year. So last year we saw a 38% increase in clients accessing the food bank. If we look back to February of 2020, 1 month prior to the pandemic, to February of 2024, we've seen a 100% increase.
Wow.
In
my goodness.
access. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And with inflation, with the cost of interest rates, with the cost of food and that sort of thing, we are seeing more working families coming to the food bank than ever before. We're tracking a stat of people who own their own homes. 2.2 million Canadians will have to renew their mortgage in the next 18 months.
Wow.
That's going to smart. Right, and some of us are like very much dreading what that's going to look like. Maybe you had a 2.5% interest rate, and now you're looking at 6%. That's going to take
phenomenal.
a huge chunk out of your budget.
Absolutely. I mean, it's earth-shattering, and we've talked in different facets of different types of conversations about the cost of everything now. I mean, the cost is phenomenal, and what people may assume, or who people may assume come to the food bank, is not the same case anymore.
No, it's not. So I've always said a lot of the people who come to the food bank look like me. They look like my parents, they look like my kids, and they do. And the idea that people are taking advantage of the system and coming in and using the food bank, that is really antiquated. I would almost bet anything that somebody who accesses the food bank, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a neighbor. I tell a story years ago of living in a very small community, being very connected to that community. I was a community builder, I was on a local council, that sort of thing. And I got a call asking, could I support somebody out of area? And it turned out to be a community member who I had worked with before, and I had no idea that they were in trouble. And I would have thought I knew that.
Right.
I knew my people, that sort of thing, and I didn't. And so it's not who you think uses the food bank. We do not do means testing. If you need the food bank, use the food bank. We think of it as a bank like anything else. Sometimes you make deposits, sometimes you make withdrawals, because food insecurity is on a spectrum, right? You may not need it now, and maybe 2 years from now you need it for a wee bit, and that sort of thing. And we want to be that safe, gentle place for people to land, to give them the food that they need and the resources, helping them out with any kind of programs they might need, to get them back to a better place.
And that's so important in the community, and I mean, there's so many people, not just our community, but so many people that are in need. And as you said, it's one of the things that breaks my heart thinking about people that that may be going hungry to choose between paying your hydro bill or getting food for your children and maybe not having food for yourself.
Yep. I've had people really angry with me at the food bank, shaking, a can of food at me, saying, how can you only give me one of these for my family? And I have to explain that, again, we do not receive provincial or federal funding. So I'm trying to do this on donations. I have to have enough for everybody. And the gentleman looked at me, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to feed my family? I don't have answers for that. This is a really crappy system. Food banks should not exist. But if they do exist, I want to try and do it as the best that we can. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we do have limited resources and we maybe can only provide 7 to 10 days worth of food a month for people accessing the food bank. And that's a tough gig. You've got another 3 weeks you got to figure out.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's heartbreaking to not be able to fulfill everybody's needs, because I mean that would be the goal, is to have enough food for everyone that needs it, for sure. And as we were talking about moving forward in the future, the need may be growing. Maybe it's growing.
It is.
Yeah.
So right now we're seeing 1,300 people a month, which is a big number for us. Mm-hmm. We suspect that within the next 2 years, that number will grow to 3,000, and by the end of 2028, it could be as high as 6,000 people a month, depending on if we're still seeing 35% generally increase year over year, which we've seen for the last 2 years. If that keeps going, that's going to be a big issue. At some point, we need to change the policies from a government perspective, because food banks will not be able to continue supporting people. We'll do our absolute best, but at some point, food banks will simply break, because all of us are experiencing this. This is not an Orangeville problem. Mm-hmm. This is across Ontario. This is across Canada. It's why food insecurity is so prevalent in the news right now, because the system is broken and we have to find a way to fix it. And that requires affordable housing. It requires changes to income support programs, and it requires changes to the clawbacks that happen when people have benefit programs. And so if anybody felt like they wanted to help us with that advocacy work, we would love the support. Talking to your MPs, your MPPs about the changes that we need to make. Because it's simply unsustainable. And food banks were put in as an emergency stopgap measure in the 80s and 90s, right? The recession happened, we needed to do this, that's fine. Emergencies end. Mm-hmm. This has not ended.
No.
And we need a different system to support people.
I'm going to say, like, when you talk about those numbers, I'm speechless. Mm-hmm. The thought of, the food bank breaking and not being able, and doing their very best, because I know everybody that works there, everybody that volunteers there, everything that you do is to support the community in the best way possible. Yeah. So if you are out April 20th and you're around the grocery stores, please, if you have the means to do it, please support the food bank. We need to definitely give them the support that they need, so that we can support those around us that we love and that we don't know that need help. And Heather, as always, I love having you on, because I love to create this awareness. I want to keep it going and spreading the word. But thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you for doing what you do. Thank the community for what they do. We would be nothing without the community, and the community has always taken care of their neighbors, friends, and families. So I thank everybody for what they do.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario.